honor to sit down and talk with Sammy and listen to her tell her story. Welcome, Sammy. Thanks for coming and sitting down with us. I have watched you for a little while on your social media, and I have to tell you, you've got a social media game that is amazing. The information that you share. You want to tell us a little bit about your social media, why you jumped in and decided that this is where you wanted to tell your story?
Yes. So it took me a while. It took me about over a year after I had clean to start sharing my story. First it was doing street outreach and helping the homeless and all that stuff, but I wanted to reach more people. With me, I know with all the times that I had dealt with addiction, and I relapsed and all that stuff, I was embarrassed and I was ashamed, and, the world judged me. And so I feel like with somebody with experience, personal experience, that has had so much trauma and everything, and then I've lost a lot of people due to addiction and suicide and the lifestyle and all that stuff. I want to share their stories, but I want to, make them proud, and I want to, I recover out loud for them.
I love that. So that made you kind of decided social media is where you wanted to go to tell your story. Well, I really wanted to dig in to your story. When I have a guest come in and sit down, we go through the interview, we go through the steps in which you worked your story. And I've seen a lot of stories. I'm not blown away by very much because I have lived it and seen it, but you really had a story. And I was really excited to be able to bring this story to our audience. So let's just jump right in. Let's talk a little bit about your childhood. Take me down that journey. Tell me a little bit about your childhood.
I was a sweet little girl. So whenever I was in my single digits, I had a speech impairment problem, so nobody could understand me. I had to go through speech therapy up until like 5th grade, and then I even had somebody come to my home. So I had my own language, pretty much is what my mom would call it. I grew up in a 5-family home. My mom was single. My dad was kind of in and out of the picture. My mom's never really touched anything besides weed. She's adopted, so I don't really know any of her biological, but she does have a sister. That's my aunt that I'm very close to that she grew up with. My siblings, on the other hand, on my mom's side, never dealt with addiction. I was the only one in that household that ever did. But,
so Sammy took everybody for a ride.
Yeah. So I was about the age 13 when my dad gave me Oxycontin. I had a headache, and he gave me Oxycontin at the time. He was with a woman named Marcia that was dying of cancer, breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And eventually it became a habit of I was stealing her Oxycontin without him knowing it and selling it and distributing it to kids at school. I ended up getting busted. Somebody told on me because they got caught. I was in, I think, 7th grade, and that's when, my trouble really started. But my dad, he was the person that would come and rescue me at places. He was the one that would protect me in some type of way, make sure nobody would hurt me. I've always been a daddy's girl. Growing up, I followed him around all the time, even as a little girl in my diapers. That was the person I went to.
So do you think that he introduced this to you knowing the danger of it? Or do you think that it was just so common that he didn't think anything about giving it to you?
I don't think he intended for it. At least my belief is that he didn't intend for it. He was the safe house. He was the party house, though, too. So, he knew shit was happening.
Dad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that would allow people to come over and drink at underage. That's where I would go.
So you dealt with your dad introducing you to opiates. How did that impact you going forward?
I just kept using anything. Eventually, it just led to bigger things, meth, cocaine. Eventually, I got put on probation. I was in and out of school, not in and out, but like suspended or an ISS if I ever showed up.
So talk to me a little bit about what that was like as a teenager at that point in your addiction. What were some of the things that you found yourself doing?
I was hanging out with a lot of older people.
Yeah.
Way too old. Hanging out with like 21 and up, like I was lying about my age. Some knew my age. At this time I was probably like 15 and I lost my virginity to a 21, 22-year-old. He knew how old I was. I stole my mom's car multiple times. There was a point in time where I stole my sister's car and I drove it to my probation officer. I didn't have a license, I didn't have a permit, but I still drove there. There's been times where I've wrecked multiple cars due to just getting out of control. I've wrapped one car around a tree, and I had my little brother in it. He was probably, I would say 11, 12. I might have been 16. And, I was able to get the car home, but all it did was clunk, clunk, clunk.
So as you're telling this and you're sharing your journey, looking back at that little girl, is there something, because sitting with you, you're so well understanding your journey. That had to have been hard as a little girl, being in that state of mind and still being angry, fighting, being the menace in the family, being the trouble, or, finding the trouble you were in. Do you know why?
I've thought about it, and I feel like I was misunderstood. I feel like I did it for attention. A lot of the times, I didn't get much attention unless it was bad attention. I did time in juvie from 15 to 17 years old. They released me right before I turned 18, and, I did good for a little bit, for about a month. And then back at it, stole my mom's credit card, stole her shit, got alcohol with it, got a hotel room, and the person I called was my dad. Of course, he didn't know what was going on, but he knew I needed him, that's all, and he showed up. By the time I was 18, I got arrested again for paraphernalia, drug possession, so they booked me in Clay County. That was the first time I was in, the first adult jail, I guess. And then my dad came and bailed me out of jail. That was the person I always called.
Dad to the rescue.
Yeah. And at this time, I was kind of like in the mix of like trying to meet my ex-husband for the first time, but like every time something came up, I either got in trouble or I just went MIA, my phone got shut off or whatever. And so finally when I got out, I hit him up and was like, sorry, I was honest with him. He knew I was kind of a troubled person, but also didn't judge me then. Mm-hmm. And so we finally were able to go on our first date, and he was the first guy when my mom first met him. When he walked through the door, my mom about shit her pants. She's like, because he asked him to take her, if she wanted him to take off his boots, and he wasn't sagging his pants and didn't have a flat bill hat. Yeah, so she laughed. She's like, holy fuck, okay.
So it's not what she was expecting.
Yeah, not at all. And so she fell in love with him, and eventually me and my mom got into a fight, and she kicked me out. He came and picked me up.
So you found somebody new that was going to rescue you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so he did, and I moved into him and his parents' house.
How old were you at this age?
18.
18? Okay.
I was 18, fresh, probably, I don't know. It was springtime, so I just turned 18 in January. Mm-hmm. And
so how did that relationship? How was, early dating, moving in with each other? How was that relationship?
We were pretty honest from the get-go, We had a good relationship in the beginning. I got pregnant right away, never wanted kids, but...
And you were living at his parents' house. Mm-hmm. Were you guys using?
No, he's never touched drugs.
Okay.
My ex-husband he smoked weed.
Okay.
But that was about it. He wasn't nothing like...
Okay, so at this point, you're not using then. Mm-mm. You're influenced by somebody who's not in that scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, found out I was pregnant. Ended up having our firstborn. I was like 19, and then like his family I got attached to. Eventually we got married. I was like 22 when we got married.
And you were still sober?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. So you got some years of sobriety under you
I
now.
did. When our firstborn was 9 months old, I did relapse. And then I went on a binge for about a month, but he didn't really realize what was going on because I would cook dinner, I would go to work, but like I wouldn't eat, but I would act like I would eat, and I would hide the shit, so like I stayed at home, but I allowed the people to come into our apartment that we had together. Okay. And eventually...
So you were closet using.
Yeah. And then eventually I started getting to the point where I felt bad. And I wasn't an IV user then, so I was just smoking out of a glass light bulb.
Yeah.
And I woke up one night after I dumped the shit out in the toilet and everything and crushed the pipe and everything I made. I woke him up and I had my bags packed and I was like, I will go to rehab. I don't want to ruin our relationship. I don't want to, and he looked at me and he's like, what the fuck, Sammy? But he's like, no, we're going to get through this together. So we got through it. And at that time I was using ice. I was using meth and all that stuff. So I got clean. We got married. And then our wedding was a shit show. It was a shit show. I tried walking away from walking down the aisle. People chased me to get me to go down in the aisle to walk down to him.
Had cold feet, or you just knew that this was...
I didn't think it was right. I wasn't ready. We were getting married for all the wrong reasons. I feel like we loved each other, kind of, but like we weren't each other's person. Like, we had nothing similar besides our kid. Mm-hmm. And then...
you knew on paper he was probably a good guy, but you just didn't feel it in your heart.
Yeah. And so, but I still got married to him, And then after we got married, about a month and 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant with Carter, which is our youngest son together. And, everything was fine and dandy. And then after he was born, I was dealing with postpartum bad. I started cutting myself again. Started just horrible. Started smoking weed more. And then I started selling gummies to my coworkers. Like I was starting a cycle over.
Started to pick up when the things got difficult. You started to pick up bad habits, or the same old habits of what you're familiar with.
Yeah.
So this marriage, it didn't last very long.
It didn't. Carter was like 9 months old. Me and him had gotten into a fight. So I worked at Casey's and I came across this lady that I could have told you she was on drugs. And I asked her if she could get me some shit. And she's like, of course I can. So I gave her $40. And I was like, give me your number and everything. We'll meet up somewhere. She lived right down the street from me. And so, like, I went home, I picked up my kids from daycare, and I'm sitting here like, I shouldn't have done that. I regretted my decision after that. Mm-hmm. So.
Because now you initiated the start.
And so then I texted her, I was like, I just need my money back, dude. And she's like, well, I haven't gotten this shit, so we can meet up and I'll give you back your cash. I said, cool. So at this point, I had 3 years clean.
We got a nice drug dealer that's going to give you your money back. Wow. That threw me for a loop because that never happens.
No. And then I go back home and I tell my ex-husband. I was very honest with him. And I told him, look, I almost relapsed. He called me a fucking idiot. He said, you're fucking stupid for that. And at that point, that really pissed me off because I'm like, why would you say that to somebody that you supposedly love?
Yeah, he doesn't have the ability to understand that you're on the edge of making a really bad decision, and if you catch yourself from jumping off the ledge, that needs to be celebrated, not chastised.
Yep. So then there was like just random weird things happening. Like he had Snapchat. And like, so one night I went through his phone and I seen he was paying for porn on Snapchat. And I'm like, no, that's not fair. If you wanted to watch porn, we can just watch porn together. That's the type of person I am. And so, but for some reason he was being sneaky about it. So like that just added more to the fire. I called a coworker, my boss. She came and picked me up. I was like, I can't stay. All I could think about was suicide. I'm done. I'm done.
Your whole world was kind of crashing.
Everything was just happening at once. And so I was like, I can't get these thoughts out of my head. I need you to come pick me up. So she came and picked me up. And then she dropped, at this time, I didn't have a car or a license or anything. I had to be chauffeured pretty much. Somebody had to drive me around. And so she picked me up. I stayed the night with her, hung out with her and her kids, and I just, the thought I couldn't get it out of my mind. I made my mind up. She dropped me off at work the next morning. My house was right there, and like my work was in my backyard. So after I got off work, I went home, didn't go pick up my kids from daycare like I normally would, went straight home, locked the doors, and I texted my ex-husband. I said, just don't bring the kids home. Don't bring the kids home. And next thing I know, I'm popping a whole bunch of shit. I don't remember anything after that. I wake up in the hospital. And then the people that I had next to me was his mom, the only person on his side of the family. On my left, my sister, one of my older sisters on my right. And then Jesse, my best friend. He became my best friend eventually at the end of the foot. And all I remember asking, because he had long brown hair, I said, Jesus? And then I flatlined. And then I wake up again, same people. I asked where my ex-husband was. I was like, where's my husband? To his mom. And she's like, well, he's at home with the kids. I said, okay, whatever. And then obviously they had to do the procedure where I get transferred to a mental hospital once I was clear from medical. So I go get put in, admitted, because somebody signed the paperwork for me to be admitted, because they would have released me, but somebody signed the paperwork to put me in the mental hospital. And so I finally just found out who did that, which was my brother from my dad's side of the family. Everybody on my side of the family I didn't know who all was at the hospital, but everybody was there because they thought I was gone. Like, I'd been announced dead.
Do you know what drugs had you taken?
I took like a whole bottle of my Keppra, which was my seizure meds, ibuprofen, Tylenol. I took everything.
Just whatever you can get your hands on.
I was like, I'm done. That's all I remember. I took pretty much all my bottles.
So do you think it was a cry for help, or was it for attention? Because we talked about that earlier.
I think it was a cry for help, I think.
So you eventually get out of a mental hospital, and I know that there's a journey of relapse here.
Yes.
So let's go through that. Let's talk about that.
So when I first get out of the mental hospital, I get served divorce papers. I already knew that was coming.
It's still not easy to get divorce papers.
It wasn't. But then I got served a restraining order, and my kids were on that. Never been away from my kids. Never, ever. I stayed sober for about 3 months. Okay. And so then, I missed my second-born's first birthday. Never missed any of my kids' birthdays. Couldn't call him. Couldn't see him.
Yeah, that had to be hard.
So I ended up getting a hold of people, places, and things. I moved back home with my mom, she lived in Kearney at the time. And I got a hold of people, and I started getting high. About 5 days later, whenever I was first supposed to start seeing my kids on that weekend, supervised, I caught charges. So I spent the first weekend I was supposed to see my kids in jail.
That's a hard explanation.
Yeah. So after that, I got out of jail. My mom actually bailed me out on a Sunday after she dropped the kids off. And, I enrolled in inpatient, outpatient. I completed it. I graduated it. I stayed clean. We went to court to finalize everything.
So when did you get married to the husband you're married to now?
July 1st, 2023.
Okay, so you guys had met fresh coming out of rehab?
Jail.
Okay, fresh coming out of jail.
Yeah.
And you both ended up in the same rehab? Or halfway house? Or
So I completed the halfway house, and then we knew the same people, but I added him on Facebook and I was like, this guy looks cool, looks clean, and I just wanted like the opposite sex to be friends with because I had just done time for 2 years. And I was in a halfway house full of girls, so I'm just like, I just need somebody to talk to. Someone that's a different person. I didn't want a relationship. He didn't want a relationship. And so then we started talking and hanging out, or not hanging out, but just like talking about God and like football and sports.
things that are safe in
Yes,
recovery.
you know, and talking about prison and like recovery and all that stuff over the phone, you know. And then eventually, like I never hit him up first because I was like, I'm not trying to do that, but he would hit me up, you know. Like I'm not chasing nobody this time. If it's meant to be, it'll be. And so once I completed my halfway house, my 90 days, I went to Branson where he was at, which was in a transitional co-ed. And so I had family pay for a bed for me there because I didn't have money. And I was like, they tried convincing me, no, Sammy, it's a bad idea. And I'm like, I'm going to risk it. You know, I'm going to take a risk. I want to meet this guy. I mean, I'm talking, you know, he sent me like white chocolate strawberries, you know, for my birthday and all that stuff, you know, while I was in the halfway house and everything like that, you know, and just did sweet things.
He was showing you some interest.
Yes, which then I'm like, okay, cool. And then so finally it was just like, all right. We met up, and it was awkward at first because we're both shy. We were both like, hey, you know, like, we didn't know how.
Well, you had been in prison, and you know, you've you know, had a lot of life in the short period of time. So here you're trying to meet somebody that's, you know, somebody that you want to impress.
Yeah, and so like we would play like spades together with other people. You know, we were doing shit that we would have done inside, except it was with dudes and girls, you know. And like we went out, like the transitional place we were at, they would let us leave for a few hours. We would just sign out where we're going. So like we would try to like be not so obvious, but then like 2 weeks down being in Branson, they found me sitting on his lap outside while I'm smoking a cigarette, and we got kicked out the next day.
Yeah,
automatic kick out because we were coupling.
You had
So we found somewhere to rent a bedroom upstairs for like $800. We had jobs. And we did good for a little bit. Probably, I think we relapsed in like March, and I moved there in like early January. So like we did
about
good.
4 months in, and you guys were like, let's go for another run.
Yeah. Somebody brings a shit ton of dope. I mean, not a shit ton. I've seen a lot, but I'm just like, this is like federal time shit. But okay. And like at first, my husband, he looks at me, and we're just boyfriend and girlfriend. He's like, just one. I said, no, I'm going upstairs. You can follow me if you want, but I'm going upstairs. And then I thought about it. As soon as I hit this top of the stairs, I walked back down. I looked at him. I said, fuck it. Let's have a good time just for the weekend.
So that was the first time getting high with him. Was there a moment you're sitting there going, that fucker's going to get high and I'm not?
Yes, definitely. And I didn't want to miss out. I wanted to get high.
That's real.
So that was the start of everything. We quit our jobs, started driving from Branson to St. Louis twice a week to do what we had to do and come back, and we started boosting shit, selling the shit.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Right. I know what you're saying can easily be read between the lines of people who've lived that life. But let's walk through that.
Okay.
When you say you were going to St. Louis to do what we got to do, what is going to St. Louis to do what we got to do?
Pick up drugs.
So you were doing that to keep yourself from being sick, or you were picking up drugs to sell?
Both.
Okay. So going to St. Louis was the way you guys were surviving, not working and staying, keeping yourself from being sick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our roommate had a car, so I don't remember what the hell me and Tyler were doing, but we were doing something, and he picked us up somewhere, and we were living in Branson at this time. And so this guy just got paid, had cash, hella cash on him, had a gun in his console, and then he stopped at Dollar Tree or whatever, laundromat. And so he goes inside and leaves the car and park, but leaves the keys in it. And that's when I hopped in the front seat.
And took off.
And we took off. It was crazy. My adrenaline was going. I was like, we need to get out of Branson now. We left, made a few pit stops in the middle to get high, to calm down, to sell the gun, because we're like, we cannot get caught with this gun.
Yeah.
So we sold the gun, got extra money, and then we hit Kansas City. And then we paid for 2 weeks in a motel.
And so you guys were held up in a hotel in Kansas City.
Yeah.
On a binge. Tell me about the day that things changed between you and your husband.
So we were at a point, we were done, but we knew we couldn't get clean. But we also didn't want to be separated. And so at this time, we ended up all the way in Holt, Missouri, where I'm actually originally from. The only person that really knew where we were at was my cousin. And then eventually one day we went walking to Holt, inside of Holt, and we find this couple at the gas station, and they paid for a room for us for a motel. It was really weird. Never seen somebody willing to pay.
Yeah.
That. So we stayed in the motel for the night. And we looked at each other, we looked in the mirror, and we just prayed and we prayed and we prayed for God to change us, to help us, to save us. And we also looked at each other and we're like, we fucking hate each other right now, but we also love each other.
Yeah, you guys were really going through it.
And so the next day, we walked down, we walked to Dollar General first, and then we took some shit, like food and shit like that. We were going to have a picnic at the park, and that's what we did. And
what a sweet date.
Yeah.
Let's go to Dollar General. Let's go take the shit we need. Yeah. And then let's go sit over here by the lake and have a picnic.
That's kind of what happened. So we're sitting
so
there.
Sweet.
Yeah. We were sprung out also, but we were like, okay.
We were trying to have the romance.
And next thing I know, about 6 cop cars pull up into the grass. So 2 were from Clay, 3 were from Clinton County, and then 2 were state troopers. And they all hop out of their cars with their guns drawn, telling us to get on the ground.
So what did they actually stop? What did they arrest you guys for?
Well, we had parole violations for absconding because we weren't reporting. And then 2 new charges for one, theft of an automobile, and then personal item theft or whatever. So, and that was up in Taney County. That's where those warrants were. But our parole were in, I don't remember where we were paroled off into. So whenever the 24-hour hold was up, they took me out, or I guess they took him out first. And so he didn't shut his cell door all the way. He just barely shut it. And I'm walking out to do whatever the fuck they do. And the lady's talking to me, and she's like, the last time you were here, you were happy you were here. You showed me my old mugshot. She's like, this one here, this is what you look like now. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then I just started bawling. I'm crying. I'm hysterically crying, losing my mind. And she's like,
what was so emotional for you in that moment?
I was disappointed at myself. I did not want to be separated from my husband. I did not want to be. Plus, I didn't know how long I was going to do, because we were facing 2 new charges too, plus parole violation.
So let's walk through this. So you guys ended up serving some time in prison.
Clay County took him to prison straight off the bat, like all that. They took me to Taney County, and so I sat there for about a month and a half before I had a preliminary hearing. I got my discovery from my public defender, and I'm reading everything, and I'm like, okay, like, the only thing they have is mugshots and allegations. Okay, cool. I can actually probably fight this one. And so I told my public defender, I said, look, listen, I don't want to waive my preliminary hearing. I don't want to be told what I'm being charged with. I want to see if this guy shows up. So when I had my court hearing for the preliminary hearing, the guy didn't show up. And so the prosecutor and the public defender I had a deal. If the guy didn't show up, charges dismissed. I was done, though. I was like, I can't keep living like this. Like, and I had it set, like, even if he doesn't fucking get his shit straight, I'm going to continue going straight because I can't do this anymore.
So you feel like you were sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah. I was tired of my own self. Tired of the bullshit.
Yeah.
Tired of the pain, tired of the hurts, tired of starting over all the time.
Yeah.
And so whenever I got back to the jail, they lifted my parole hold and I got out. And so while when I got out, I got put in the clothes that I had. I was arrested, which were moldy and nasty and disgusting. I contacted my husband's mom again, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be back in Kansas City around this time. She's the one that picked me up. And
so he was in the Department of Corrections, but you were released from Taney County.
Yes.
And you went back to his mother's house. Okay.
I was going to try to do homeless shelters, but they were all booked. And so I contacted my cousin. He's like, Sammy, he's like, you fucked me over last time. He's like, I don't know if I can trust you. Let me talk to my fiance. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
He calls me back.
That's got to be just, you're like, yeah, you're right, I did. You're right. You got every reason not to.
Yep.
So you're hoping and praying that they'll give you one more chance.
Yep. And they did. I'm grateful for that chance. I'm grateful they took a chance on me.
So what did you do with that chance?
So his fiance was working at this place called Burns and McDonald's. So she was able to talk to the cleaning company that is hired through them, which is like they're not hired on Burns and McDonald. It's just like
they were contracted to them.
Yeah, contracted.
Mm-hmm. And so you started working with them?
Yep. They hired me, and I started working. And then I talked to my husband on a daily basis, video phone calls. They released him from prison, but then he was on probation in Ray County. So then they had to take him to Ray County so they could say
answer for those.
And he was in there for about a month or maybe 3 weeks. And so like while I'm, saving up money, I got my license.
What are you doing for your sobriety during that time?
Going to church. I'm doing outreach, working.
So your choice and how you chose to maintain your recovery is to put the healthy things in front of you and to lean in on the things that work, that help keep you clean and sober. So let's pick up where he came home from Ray County?
Yes. So my cousin didn't want him at the house. He's like, he's not welcome. I don't want him to know where I live. So I was like, okay. So he ended up...
your family, they're going to love you.
Yeah.
But they don't have to love somebody else.
No.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
So he ended up going to a homeless shelter. And he was pretty determined on getting a job. Like, he rode a bicycle to and from everywhere. Very determined. Eventually, finally, for the first time after it had been a week after he had been out. And then that weekend was whenever I was able to finally see him for the first time, touch him, hug him, kiss him. It was crazy feeling.
Yeah, to be reunited.
Yes. I was nervous. I was anxious. I was excited. Sure. Butterflies. Sure. I was like, oh my God, but we're both sober. So like, sitting here, like, I was so grateful. And I ran up to him and hugged him, and we walked around the park a few times, you know, because, like, he couldn't stay too long because he had to go back to the homeless shelter. And so we were separated for a little bit of time. But he ended up getting a job at this place called Spin Pizza or Mod Pizza or something like that. And in Lee Summit, and then the church that we were attending, because we would see each other on Sundays for church and stuff like that. The church helped pay for a hotel room for him. So at this point, I started, because my cousin's fiance paid for a car for me. She put all my, she had faith in me 100%. I was like, I've never seen somebody believe in me this much. So it also gave me the oomph, like, that I needed. And so then I just started staying in the hotel with him. And we did have some trials with the parole and probation, because they're like, you guys got in trouble. You cannot get, you guys cannot be around each other. And so I told my PO, I said, look, we want to get married one day, but if you guys say we cannot, we will go to the courthouse and get married. And I said it in a nonchalant way, respectful way. And she's like, okay. She's like, I'll give you guys a chance. You guys fuck it up, no more.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I was so relieved after that. And so he talked to his PO. His PO was fine with it as well.
So you guys got permission and got married.
We didn't get married quite yet, but we got our first place. It was off Truman and Van Brunt, but
Rough area,
but that was the only place that would accept us as a felon.
right?
And so then we got married July 1st of 2023. And that is our, we got married on our 1 year sober day.
That's
celebration. Awesome. So
what a way to celebrate 1 year together. Yeah.
And so that's that. And then our baby girl came September 18th of 2023. And, you know, along the way, we rebuilt bridges. I've currently still fighting to see my son, not see my sons, but rebuild a relationship.
Well, and that's how I intersected, as I had begun to see some of your social media talking about your case with trying to gain back some visitation. And so, you know, that's kind of where I first kind of captured your story. I was like, yeah, she's been through something, you know, and sharing a lot of the social media content is about, you know, what you did to survive in prison, and how you've put your life together after you've gotten out of prison. Where are you at now with, you've got this amount of sobriety under your belt, you've got a marriage, a young baby. Actually, she's a toddler.
She's 2, yeah.
Yeah, she's 2. That's what I was thinking. And then now you're working on reuniting with the 2 boys. Where are you at right now? And then tell me where you want to go with this.
So where I'm at, like, in my sobriety, I'm happy with where I'm at, but I also want to keep trying. Like, I'm nowhere close to where I want to be, you know. I picture myself getting on a stage and being a motivational speaker. I see me and my husband going further, traveling, and, you know, telling our story together to people, going into prisons, stuff like that. That is something we love to doing. We love doing outreach together. That's something that
telling
makes
your
us
testimony.
Yes, you know, I want to see my sons be able to meet their little sister. I want her to be able to know them. It's been very,
Have
very...
they met each other yet?
No.
Okay.
So the supervised visits, we've been doing this since September, and finally kind of had like a little breakthrough with my oldest. Both my kids are still they're
struggling with this. Yeah.
They're not speaking.
They're not speaking to you?
Mm-mm.
So they're rejecting the arrangement.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sammy. That's got to be hard. I think you know that I'm making an assumption here. You're being tested on how serious you are, right? I mean, somewhere in the universe, whether you believe in God or whatever, something is testing to say, is this really what you want? You really want a relationship with him? Oh, yeah? Show us how serious you are, right?
Yeah.
So my guess is that the more tenacity that you showing up, because that's what parents, we do. We have to show up and show up and show up and show up. Even when they don't want us there, we still show up. So that's probably what's going on, would be my guess, is how much are you going to show up?
Yep.
Because when you have that breakthrough with your boys, it's going to be very powerful because you've shown up. So where are we at with them right now?
So last week, I grabbed this like paper airplane book that you could like pull paper out and make an airplane with my oldest, and I tried making the airplane first. I'm like, well, fuck, I can't do this. And so I was like, here you go. You know, I just sat it next to him because he wouldn't grab it from me. And so like he starts going through it, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he grabs a piece of paper and starts building one, and making one, and I'm sitting here like looking at a supervisor, and I'm like,
we're getting somewhere.
Cool. No words, but we're getting somewhere. Cool.
We're communicating
like,
through play.
They've been watching this, and like they've said a few things. Like there's some weird shit going on too, but they're just like, we're just looking, you know, trying not to like be obvious.
Don't scare him. Don't scare him.
And so then I was like, do you need tape for that? And he didn't say anything, but then the supervisor asked, she's like, do you need tape for that? And he's like, yes. And I said, okay. So I went outside of the visiting room and I asked if they had tape. They said, yeah, there's a little like crafty thing over there. It has tape in it. Cool. So I grabbed it and I ripped off some tape. And I reached my finger out, and he actually took the tape from me. And I'm sitting here like, holy crap. You know, like that alone, like it wasn't much, but I was just like. No,
but you'll take that forward
I'll take
movement.
that, you know, silence, whatever. But then he kept making other airplanes. And so I'm sitting here like, okay, now I know what he needs to keep his hands busy.
Yeah.
He likes being artistic. Cool. Yeah. So next time.
And it's communication through play.
Yeah.
It's communication through activity.
Yeah.
I really want to thank you for sitting down with me today. I know that we went through a lot of painful parts of your story, but I think it's really important for people to be able to share their journey, because nobody wakes up one day and says, hey, I'm going to go shoot a shot of heroin, right? Nobody does. It's a lot of events that happen that line up just perfect for that first storm to hit. And then after that, Usually it's a pretty bad storm in order for you to get through the other side of it. And right now, you guys have come out of the storm. You're now sitting here looking at what your future is that's bright and in front of you. So I can't tell you thank you enough for sitting down with me and sharing your story. Why don't you share a little bit about your social media, let people know how they can follow you, where they can find you at. So if they watch this interview and they have more questions, they can reach out to you.
Yes, so I am Sober Sammy 95 on TikTok. That is my only platform I have. I do have YouTube, but I don't really get on it very much, but it's Sober Sammy 95 as well. My social networking, TikTok is mainly about recovery, prison. I'll talk about my day-to-day life.
You're a strong girl, and you made it through. And look at you on this side of it. You're really helping other people feel less alone in the world who have been through the same experiences that you have. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and I appreciate everybody else joining in. And be sure to like and follow, and we'll be back here again with another story soon. Take care.